I'll be back, super best friends!
No, you ain't!
South Park season is upon us once again, folks. And I think it's about time I talk about something that's been on my mind for a while. As someone who's grown up with South Park and caught basically every premiere since '08, I've seen a lot of characters come and go. We've lost real ones like Chef and, I guess, Pip, while learning new faces like PC Principal and Betsy. And there's the recurring characters who have faded into obscurity like the 6th graders, Jimbo, or Ned, reduced to background characters with little to no speaking roles. Although the RPGs encompassed a lot of South Park's expansive cast of characters with side missions and quick story beats, just one of the many reasons why those games rip. Something cool that we've seen over the past few years is the show itself bringing back characters who haven't had the spotlight in a while. Lil' Kim being prominent in City People, Jimbo and Kenny's dad Stuart playing a role in Help! My Teenagers Hate Me, and most notably, Tolkein getting softly upgraded into a bigger character. Although he's not really a part of The Boys, he's shown hanging out with Stan a lot more now that they live directly across the street from each other. A change that I really like. I love seeing the different dynamics these characters have with one another and how those dynamics affect the core friend group. But in spite of all of this, I can't shake the feeling that Matt and Trey are still dodging one character in particular. Someone who plays an instrumental part in one of the most shocking moments in the show's history. Someone who has a major connection to one of the boys. Someone who's only had one other major appearance since his debut. I am of course talking about Eric Cartman's half-brother, the twisted, tormented ginger, Scott Tenorman. Earlier this year, I covered South Park's infamous two-parter, banned from the United States, 200 and 201. My highest viewed video of the year, by the way. Makes me really happy since that's a video I wanted to do for literal years, so thanks for tuning in. In this banned two-parter, we learned that Cartman's mom actually got knocked up by a player on the Denver Broncos, Jack Tenorman, with the town covering up this juicy secret in order to protect the beloved sports team.
They were having a really good year. There couldn't be any distractions.
So, wouldn't you know it, not only does Cartman have ginger in his blood, but he also murdered his father and the mother of his half-brother, traumatizing said brother for life. You can guess which one Cartman is more f***ed up about.
My dad was a ginger!
Old Scotty Boy had to flee before he could finish exacting his revenge on Cartman. But sadly, Tenorman hasn't been seen in a major role since, presumably due to 200 and 201 being banned, with the latter only airing on TV once. It's a major bombshell that was dropped in a B-plot that's sadly attached to one of the most controversial episodes of the show. Although it's not like it's controversial because it offended viewers across America, it's controversial because Comedy Central was afraid of sparking a world war. Which, if any cartoon was able to pull that off, South Park definitely fits the bill best. Tenorman did make a small cameo in the vaccination special, alongside a presumably non-canonical Xbox game, Tenorman's Revenge from 2012. But the show proper hasn't followed up on 201 in the 12 years since it aired, and I think it's time that's changed. Scott and Eric being brothers is just too good of a twist to let a banned episode hold it back. Honestly, he might have come back already if 201 was never even banned. But it's not too late to make it happen. It's only been over a decade. Literally, all you need to do is have a 10-second recap of 201, followed by a joke where Cartman has no recollection of that happening. I truly think Scott Tenorman becoming a semi-recurring character has a lot of potential, mainly for entertainment value, but also for some Cartman development. I'd even argue the show has the perfect setup to make this happen. But first things first, why Scott? What makes him such a great candidate for a recurring character compared to everyone else who's vanished from the show? Well, in a really messed up way, Scott was kind of everything Cartman tries to be. Prior to the chili incident, he was manipulative and conniving like Cartman, although he wasn't nearly as extreme as Cartman can get. But unlike Cartman, not only was he able to get away with his hijinks without repercussions, but he was able to do so while still maintaining good relationships with his friends and family. You know, until Cartman turned his family into chili. And now that he's had a full-blown Joker arc, the boxing gloves are coming off. He can go completely off the rails and match Cartman's level of insanity, his level of cruelty. And he has a tragic origin story to fall back on for his delinquent behavior because, after all, the fat kid killed his parents. Aww. Seriously, what could Scott do to Cartman that would cause people to say anything but, I don't know, Cartman, you killed his parents? The idea of someone being just as evil as Cartman, while also being socially accepted, is just really interesting to me. In a super messed up sense, he's quite literally the older brother that Cartman aspires to be. Yet South Park has only scratched the surface of what this dynamic is capable of. Although Cartman has had plenty of comeuppances, Scott feels like the only character who could really put Cartman through everything he puts everyone else through. I want to see a B-plot where Scott goes above and beyond to fuck Cartman out of something trivial that he's been really excited for. Maybe Cartman really wants to play Spider-Man 2, but he can't lock down a PS5, only to discover Scott has been putting in the work to make sure that console never ends up in his hands. That's just an example off the top of my head. I'm sure there's something stronger they could come up with, but I hope you see the vision. I also think Scott has the power to really put a nail in the coffin when it comes to Cartman's social standing. I mean, think about it. Despite being an absolute menace to society, people still put up with Cartman. But over the years, the townsfolk have become increasingly fed up with him, especially his mom. If anyone is unhinged enough to set Cartman up to be exiled from the town, yet be completely justified in doing so, it'd be Scott. He has enough of the town's pity to turn Cartman into public enemy number 1 without anyone questioning him for it. I think Tenorman's return would also put Cartman in an interesting position. Does he double down and try to best Scott at this game of cat and mouse? Or does he do the unthinkable and actually try to level with Scott? Make a genuine effort to try and atone for the blood on his hands, connecting with Scott and against all odds, becoming brothers. It's Cartman, so that's beyond wishful thinking, but I don't know. Don't you think that'd be a little interesting to see?
Nigga, no.
Alright, well screw you two then. Now that we have why Scott out of the way, let's tackle how Scott. As in, how would the show bring back Scott in a meaningful way? Again, I think I cooked up a pretty good premise, and it's just connecting the dots that the last 2 seasons laid out. City People revolved around Leanne getting a new job as a real estate agent to keep the Cartman family afloat, much to Cartman's dismay. So he decides to start his own rival agency to put his mom out of a job. People get shot, just another Wednesday in South Park.
Who shot up the school? Was it you?
This is America.
In the aftermath of Leanne caving into Cartman and quitting her job, they can no longer afford their house and have to move into an abandoned hot dog shop that Cartman eventually transforms into Dick and Bow's hot dogs. A smash hit that's sold against his will, and ultimately lands him and Leanne back to square one as they're able to get their house back in the acquisition.
I want, take it back!
While that'll cover their living situation for a bit, I'm not sure it's something they can live off of forever. But how can Leanne prepare for a future when Cartman won't even let her hold down a job? It's not like he's exactly a hard worker either. This is where Cartman's behavior and string of bad decisions can really bite him in the ass. Leanne's solution being Cartman's worst nightmare. She adopts poor little orphan boy Scott Tenorman, and for a plethora of reasons. Not only does Scott offer to help around the house and pay some bills with an after-school job, immediately winning over Leanne, but maybe she thinks Scott being in the house will actually be good for Cartman. In her eyes, Scott is an upstanding older brother figure that Cartman can learn a lot from, having some kind of male role model to look after, and she feels like it's the least she could do for both Scott and Eric after keeping their relation a secret for so long and Scott lost his parents, something she may feel responsibility for. Of course, Cartman's shitting bricks the entire time. He knows Scott is planning something diabolical, but isn't sure what. Is he going to kill Leanne and turn her into chili? Is he going to poison all of Cartman's favorite snacks? Or even a third thing! Cartman's losing it with his paranoia cranked up to a 10, and the whole time Scott is just sitting back and enjoying the show, ruining Cartman's life just by being there. At the very least, we'd get a funny-ass episode out of this premise, and at the most, there's a few episodes to work with here. I'm not saying it has to be one continuous story, just different Cartman versus Scott scenarios until their living situation hits a breaking point. I think it'd be even funnier if, throughout all of this, Cartman does manage to actually appease Scott and successfully reconcile with him, leading to the two teaming up and wreaking havoc all over the town in the name of brotherhood, bonding over their mutual hatred for pretty much everything and everyone Cartman already holds grievances with, except maybe Ginger's, I don't know. The best scenario for Cartman's ops suddenly becomes the worst scenario. I think you get the vision by now. Scott can be used in so many ways beyond what the show has given us. Controversy be damned. Just reintroduce the basics in an episode and go wild with it. I definitely think my desire to see Scott again goes hand in hand with my love for 201, but at the same time, part of the reason why I love that episode so much is because of the brother reveal, and again, it's just too good of a reveal for the show to never do anything with it again. Maybe that's just me though. So on that note, what do y'all think? Yay or nay to a Scott comeback? Let me know in the comments, and keep the convo pushing over on Twitter and Insta at AwestruckVox. If you enjoyed this little pitch, throw it a like, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thanks for watching, have a good one, see you later, peace.